Hello, everyone.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
I'm
Hello,
doing fine.
Coach.
Hey, guys.
Coach, can you kind of first off just kind of talk about how this came together? Obviously, it's been a tumultuous few weeks with transfer portal and maybe not knowing what your roster is going to look like for this tournament. So, what was the preparation like? Obviously, the roster that you're playing with is a lot different than the one you had towards the end of the regular season. So, what kind of differences, what kind of adjustments did you have to make going into this tournament?
Well, first, you have to be invited to this type of a tournament. It's been, a great field. Really enjoyed it, and I wanted my players to enjoy the experience as well. Anytime you can be invited to play in the postseason, it's an honor. And I think our guys have approached it that way. As you said, obviously, our team is not what we had starting the year and won't be the team in the future, but while we're together we want to make sure that we maximize each other, make each other better on the floor, which our guys are doing, and have fun in competing. And I think we've seen that. So very, very happy with our guys. To get the whole thing started, what we did was, once we're invited, say it's a no-brainer. It's a new tournament, a terrific field. It's an honor, like I said, to play in it. So I explained that to our guys. And then we gave him some time off from the time we lost in the conference tournament, in the Big 12 conference tournament. For the rest of that week, up until that basically following Monday, we gave them off to spend time, to recover, recharge their batteries. And then we kind of slowly brought them back, together, as far as, basically optional skill work that first week back, really coming in and optional skill work, weight room work, all the things of that nature. And then the following week, we started to have more practices, but still more skill work and things of that nature, working on the guys' individual abilities. And then that led us to our last couple games of really just days of pretty much of game prep. And I thought our guys really were focused, locked in, and ready to go.
Coach, obviously Keyshawn Hall's moved on, but where you have a lot of roster changes and things like that, there's also opportunities for other guys to step up. Nils is a big one, but obviously too, Tyler Hendricks had the double-double in the opening tournament win, averaging, I think, around 14 and a half points, something like that. How has the dynamic of your team changed with Keyshawn now moving on? And how impressed are you with Tyler to step in to take the opportunity to step up in the tournament?
Well, Keyshawn was a big piece of what we did. Loved coaching him. I thought he did a really good job for us, last season. And as you know, that's the nature of our sport now. Guys are going to have opportunities, and I think we played a good part of helping him grow his game. I think he probably had one of the best years he's had in college here, which I think bodes well for what we do as a program as far as skill work, developing guys getting better. I think you look across the board, you've seen that through our coaching career. So not just myself, but my staff do an amazing job of that. So, excited for him and his next opportunity. And I'm excited for us, to continue to try to build something special here where we are. So I think Tyler's an example of that. Here's a young player who came in and, had to continue to grow and develop his game and to grow his role. And you've seen him do that over the course of the last couple of years. So, I think you've seen him improve, and that's a sign of guys who put in a lot of work with our players, guys who are committed to seeing these young people get better. And I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for Niels.
Coach, obviously a lot of these players from the past season moved on. So how was it grabbing these group of guys and figuring out who wanted to play in and now keeping that chemistry and that morale alive, especially advancing into the Final Four teams?
Well, I think that says a lot about our staff and myself from the standpoint of it's about relationships. These young people have options now, and that's fine. And they have options to make decisions on where they want to be from year to year. And for us, I think the relationship was strong enough that once we got invited, it wasn't even difficult. And once we said we got invited, we went to the guys and said, hey, it's a great opportunity to play in a brand new tournament. We have a chance to compete against some very good teams. And really, it wasn't hard. Guys just all kind of just that were around, said, hey, I'm in. Save for a few guys who, had some other things going and made some different decisions. But everyone, pretty much stuck around and said, hey, I want to be a part of it. And that's what you see now.
Johnny, you mentioned a couple of those guys, Tyler and Nils. They jumped in the portal when the portal window opened. What was the decision process behind maybe allowing them to play in this tournament? What was the conversations you had with them, and what were their feelings about wanting to continue to play, obviously, in this tournament?
Well, once we said we were going to play in the postseason, Our guys, very loyal. I mean, they took that commitment to heart. We said that before anyone ever jumped in the portal. And so they elected to continue to play and, kept their word with regards to that. And, for me, I just, I counted on them being able to do that, and they did. I had no hard feelings with guys entering the portal. Guys are, entering the portal for, a myriad of reasons. I mean, guys are checking their value. Guys are in the portal to see, what opportunities may be better for them at other places. And that's fine. That's just the world we're in now. So I had nothing I held against guys that put their name in the portal. The only thing I can say, it just makes more sense, I think, for all these tournaments to have the portal maybe open up on Tuesday, the day after the national championship game. I think that would be a better time to open the portal. That way, everything is completed. Our biggest event, which is the NCAA tournament, is has been concluded, and now everyone can open it up, and you give everyone that time to make some decisions. But I think to have it kind of disrupt not just the tournament I'm in, but even the NCAA tournament. I see guys were entering the portal and they're playing in the NCAA tournament. So I think we can help these young people with regards to that by just the timing of when we do some things and taking a hard look at that. I think will help our game overall.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you can say specifically about Nils and Tyler, but are maybe those guys looking for an opportunity to play, maybe start at another school, maybe more playing time than they've gotten at UCF? And I don't know, with the way they've played the last couple games, is there a possibility that, they could return to UCF?
Well, all of the above are possible. I mean, these things are never over until they're over. And but these guys have opportunities and they're making the most out of it. I'm just very happy for them again because they're our guys. They're UCF players, and I think they've developed under our tutelage. So for us, I mean, what you're seeing now and everyone's excited about is the hard work that they've put in first and foremost. I mean, I never take credit for a young person's, how much he's worked on his game to improve. But I will say I think our staff does an amazing job of helping young people develop and get better. And I think you've seen that, this weekend or this week.
Coach,
Coach,
Coach, you
Coach, you've
mentioned wanting
been
to
at this
open
for
the transfer portal event at a later date past the national championship game. I mean, how hard has it been for you to navigate the transfer portal while trying to win this tournament and evaluate talent on your roster, seeing if they're able to stay?
Well, that's a challenge. It really is a big challenge, from the standpoint of, we're trying to compete, and try to, play for a championship and same thing with the NIT, the NCAA, the CBI, and all the tournaments that were still going. And yet we're still dealing with the portal transfers off your roster. You're still dealing with trying to recruit, guys that are in the portal. It's definitely a challenge, but our guys are really equipped well to handle these situations. They can multitask. I mean, I wish we had some, like I said, rules of the road from the standpoint of what I said, maybe started up after the conclusion of our game with regards to the NCAA championship game. But, these are the rules we're playing by now, and we just have to make the most out of them.
Johnny,
Coach, you've been at this for
I was gonna say with the portal the way it is and with the recruitment process now, how much of this is just strictly about negotiating and bidding? It seems like money obviously is a big part of obviously this tournament and the sport as a whole, but how much of it is just that balance between old school recruiting for a situation as opposed to just the money piece of it?
Well, like I said, I look at it this way. It used to be, it was more of a transformational, process for the young person that's coming to play for you and the relationship that you're going to have probably for 4 years and well beyond that because of how you've grown to, get to know each other. You develop a relationship of trust and you build on that. And we can continue to mentor these young people throughout their lives. Now you have them for a shorter period of time. And in some cases, it has become more transactional, and that's something that has just happened. We try to still do it the old school way. We try to get to know people around the student athletes that we recruit. And then we try to maximize them, try to bring out the best in them. That's always our goal. I'm not going to change our mission statement, which is helping young people to thrive, helping young people to develop and grow. That's not changing, while I continue to coach in this game. And but there are some differences I just mentioned. Yes, transformational is turned into some transactional situations, and and you have to be able to navigate both. But I think if you have your standards in your program, I think you try to stick to your standards. You try not to compromise those just because the game has changed in a certain way. Doesn't mean you still can't find the young people that are like the ones that we've had on this team that you've shown a commitment, even though they're making other decisions. They didn't have to play. They could have made other decisions, and they could have been on visits up to now, to be quite frank, and not even with us, because that's allowed. And but they decided to stay with us. I think that's because of the type of young people that we've recruited.
As a quick follow up to that, do you think college basketball is in a sustainable position with the year to year transactional nature that you were talking about?
No, to be quite frank, I do not. I don't think it's in a great position if that's where we are. I think a lot of people need to get in the room and have a big discussion and brainstorm on how we can make our game better. But I think the way it's set up right now is very difficult, not just for us, but for the student athletes as well. I mean, these are where everybody's looking at the front end of what's going on for our student athletes, but no one's looking on the back end. I mean, these young people are in multiple schools over and over. What allegiance are people going to have when they graduate from a university? You've been there for 9 months, maybe in 4 or 5 years of college. What is your university that's the one that's really that's with you, not just the 4 years that you've gone through college, but the 40 years that you've gone. I mean, do you have any relationships? Did you leave a legacy there? And those are the things that I worry about, is not the short term for these young people, but it's the long term effect of what's going to happen that I don't think they'll see until their playing career in college is over.
Last question.
Coach, you've been at this for a minute. Everywhere from the NCAA tournament, the NIT, and now obviously this Crown in its first year. What's unique about the Crown tournament from your point of view as you play and it's the first year?
Well, I tell you what, they've been amazing hosts. The fact that this tournament is in one place, the entire tournament, 16 teams, you bring everyone to Vegas and you compete for a championship. I think it's great. I think for us, just being here and settling in and competing against these teams, I've loved that. I think they've been terrific hosts to all the teams in this tournament. And then, of course, it's very unique because it's an NIL-based tournament. So that's something that is unique. I don't think there's another tournament that's been postseason that's been formed that way.
Sorry about that.
So those are the things I think
good.
that have been
I
unique
got a
with
call
it.
from.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Darius, how are you?
How are you?
Well, obviously 2 wins so far in the Crown, but was it a little bit more satisfying that this past one was against Cincinnati, a team, conference rival that's kind of had UCF's number the last few years?
Yeah, I would say it was definitely good, to get them back. They definitely got us back. They got us at home this year, and I think they swept us last year. So, it's definitely good to get back in the win column against them.
Yeah, first of all, good to get a chance to talk to you at the tournament there, bud. But just wanted to ask, with the way this group had to come together and head into the tournament, how impressed are you with guys like Tyler Hendricks, who have stepped up so big in the tournament to be big contributors here and helping both these previous 2 wins?
I'm not surprised at all. Tyler's been a great player. I just feel like it's been unfortunate that he hasn't played a lot of minutes, but he's getting the opportunity now and he's making the most of it. He's stepped up and he's making a lot of big time shots and big time plays. But as a team and as the coaching staff, I know that they believe, because they recruited the kid, and as a team, we know that he's capable of making those shots.
Darius, just talk about the opportunity to get to compete in a UCF uniform. Once again, this time the first college basketball Crown tournament. How have you guys been attacking it? What has it meant to you?
It's meant a lot to me. I thought my season was over. So, to be able to come back and still have a chance to play and still be able to compete and, prove myself to the world, it means a lot. My senior season isn't over. Other guys' senior season isn't over. We still have a lot to play for. So, it's great to be able to still keep the UCF night jersey on and continue to hoop.
I wanted to ask you about also having a shorthanded roster, some departures from the UCF to the transfer portal. What does that have done to the team around the team chemistry? How have you guys been keeping it up, obviously advancing to the Final Four teams?
Well, obviously we've had guys enter the portal and stuff like that, but they're still bought into the team and they still wanted to compete and be able to play for something. So, they're still here and they still showed up, no matter what they had going on or ideas after this season, but they still stuck it out. When a lot of guys, you could have just stayed at home or entered the portal and started working out, doing whatever the case may be.
You've had a few opportunities to play in postseason throughout your career at UCF, Darius. What's unique about playing at the Crown compared to some of the other tournaments?
I would say the Crown is. I feel like it's in a great area. It's in Las Vegas and it's all in one destination. At the time, well, now you're playing for money as well, but then it's also you got the only other teams that are playing are the Final Four teams. So, it's a great time to play, especially if you're looking for exposure. You're looking to play at the next level because all the scouts and stuff like that. They're only watching these games, only select few games to watch. So, you're still being looked at. You're still being scouted. You're still trying to see how you respond and how you're going to play on the court.
Kind of on that note, Darius, what's it been like? Obviously, aside from the games, but just being in Las Vegas, it seems kind of like a bowl trip that football players maybe go through. So, how's it been for the guys? Obviously, beside the games, are you guys enjoying what you can of Las Vegas and the beautiful resort that you're staying in?
Yeah, we definitely are. Me personally, I've been in Las Vegas numerous of times, so this isn't new to me. I've been out here before. I've got a chance to experience, walk around and see nice things. So, I'm not sure about everyone else, but I know everyone's enjoying their time. It's not like we're on a strict schedule. We pretty much, have a lot of leeway to move around. The coaches are giving us, they're trusting us with the freedom to be able to walk around and see different things and making sure that we get our rest and stuff like that.
Darius, this you talked a little bit about this, or mentioned this, the added benefit of the NIL, the payout, the money payout. How unique is that for you guys, for players? I mean, this opportunity. Yes, you want to win and you want to continue your season and you want to get a chance to maybe get a title, but how unique is that with this idea of maybe you're playing for money, almost like an NBA player?
Yeah, I mean that's what college basketball is transitioning to. Now we're getting paid to play basketball, so they're paying us like professionals, so they're treating us like professionals. It's a great opportunity to be able to, to play for money. Our coach always tells us you play for two things in life, and that's pride or money. So I think right now our team we're playing for both. I feel like we're playing for pride because we came here and we thought no one thought we was gonna win. Like everyone probably thought we was gonna lose to Cincinnati. We wasn't gonna go far in this tournament. So they counted us out. So I think that's a little bit of pride aspect, and then you get the money benefits. Everybody who doesn't want free money. So
DJ, you've obviously got Niels and Tyler stepping in and playing expanded minutes in this tournament. They're both in the portal right now. At what point do you at all try to recruit them back, or like to maybe have them rethink their situations?
That's and I've had conversations with them. But at the end of the day, that's their decision. I can do my best to try to give them the guidance, from an older guy who's been in their shoes, who's kind of walked this thing out and maybe considered leaving and stuff like that. But um, you know, to each his own. They're great kids, great guys, great on and off the court. I'm gonna root for them. I'm gonna be in their corner the whole time, wherever they end up deciding to go, whether they stay or leave. And I wish them the best of luck. I know they're gonna be successful wherever they go.
Is the offense, is it flowing differently in the absence of Keyshawn Hall? Obviously, he's a great offensive player, as we know that he's going to Auburn next year. But with him out of the equation, how is the offense running differently?
I think the offense is running differently. I think the ball is just moving side to side more. I feel like more guys are touching, more guys are able to, be ready and be in rhythm to be able to make plays. No knock to Keyshawn. Keyshawn was a great offensive player. But we ran a lot of our offense through him. So me and him was getting a lot of the touches, a lot of the shots. I think we were getting a lot of shots going throughout a variety of different guys. I want to say probably had a few guys who got more than 5 shot attempts. So
You mentioned a lot of people predicting Cincinnati to beat you guys in the most recent game. Talk about your most recent performance, 31 points, and you went explosive in the second half, going on a 9-0 run with 3 pointers by yourself. Talk about that leadership and how you stepped up in that game to get the Knights to win.
obviously, I felt it. Felt like I had a hot hand that game. You know, the game was getting tight, so I just took matters in my own hands. I'm a senior under Coach Dawkins, been here for 4 years. He trusts me, my teammates trust me. It's my senior year, so I don't want to look back on this thing having any regrets.
And I want to add that you guys are, as you know, are advancing to the final four teams in the conference tournament. Talk about how that competitiveness and where that came from, especially with players departing, players leaving, that team morale, that team chemistry bonding together to make a deep run in this tournament.
Honestly, we're having fun, man. We're honestly just having fun playing together. I think we're all bought in. We know it's at stake right now. We're playing to win a championship. That's the goal. But we got to focus on the task at hand. Coach Dawkins always says, focus on going 1-0. So right now we got Villanova in our way, so we got to make sure that we take care of them.
And in seeing Villanova last night, what stands out to you about them? Maybe scouting them on tape a little bit in the short turnaround that you've got.
I didn't really get to watch much of the game, but watching them over the past few years, I know they like to run the offense through their guy Eric Dixon. So we're gonna have an awareness on him. I know the coach doesn't come up with a great scout and a great way to try to stop him and limit all of his touches and his scoring.